Hello.
Hello, everyone. We are
Don't Mess with the Mommas.
MOMMAS, with our motto,
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
And you are?
I'm Carla.
I'm Arlena. And today we are going to launch our 42nd episode called Identity Crisis! Exclamation mark.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're going to examine some of the problems, some of the causes, and I will turn this over to Arlena to give us some examples.
Okay, so many causes of why people have such identity crisis, especially among young people. Mm-hmm. And it's actually biological, psychological, and of course social, especially these days. So excuse me if I just peek at my notes. So psychoanalysts have described this stage of psychological development, which is ages 12 to 18, as identity versus role confusion. So, and as a young person, many young people are grappling with how to integrate their personal values with society's expectations.
Right.
They're kind of getting a little bit moving away from their family and their family's values, and what do they attach themselves to. Also biologically, and I don't know how many people are aware of this, but there's a brain phenomena going on. The frontal cortex, which is the seat of emotions, is very active when you're a younger person. And that this is not fully developed until you are out of your teenage years. So it's very natural then to really struggle with this sense of identity. So especially, you know, they're so susceptible, young people are so susceptible to external validation at this point, which can be very dangerous because it leads us right into social media. And with social media, you're constantly seeking validation, but you've got two lives. You've got who you are, and then your online personality, which can be very confusing. So then you see things that seem to be, oh, that's the way I should be. I should look like this. I should feel like this. And you're not establishing your own sense of identity, which makes you extremely vulnerable. Not only that, add all this to the economic insecurities that young people are facing today. So, you know, really establishing a strong sense of self is so challenging and makes you very vulnerable to attach yourselves to groups of some kind, whether it's political groups, whether it's,
Religious
gangs.
groups.
Religious groups, to establish that sense of identity. If you have a strong sense of self, you can make the decisions and you're not dependent on that group. You enjoy the relationship with the group, but it's not governing who you are. So I know that you wanted to share many examples yourself.
Well, I'll just say from when I was coming up, I was maybe 17, 18, and I just didn't know like how I was going to show up in the world. You know, I didn't have skills. I didn't know anything about work. I just didn't know these things. And everybody else seemed to be all right. They had their jobs.
Right.
They had their lives. But how was I just, you know, I wasn't a 5-year-old. I wasn't a 30-year-old. I was someplace in this middle trying to find myself. And I was thinking about, well, what makes a woman? You know, what makes a woman? I guess guys have the same thing. What makes a man? Was I supposed to be angry all the time? Was I supposed to be tough? And then it came to me like, you know, a woman is always becoming, which means that you're always adjusting to your situation, your environment, you know, and I stopped worrying about that, you know. So when we're looking for something, we could attach ourselves to things that aren't good, you know, just aren't good. And you can either go all the way to doing everything your parents want, all the expectations they have, to not having your own self.
Absolutely.
You know, and at some point it's natural. It's a natural thing to go through these changes as a young person. You know, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. I was just out there on my own. But now we have science, we have psychology, we have sociology that can help us get through those things. And the most important thing is to have a supportive group of people where you feel protected, that you can explore, who you want to be or who you think you are or what you're going to become. That you have that space that you're protected in.
And also, I too had a similar experience because I grew up in a household with a lot of mental illness. My mother's 13 nervous breakdowns, and then my father's, pre-dementia at age 40. So I was constantly seeking what was normal. And I would write letters to our international president, Daisaku Ikeda, and I said, I keep on saying, I don't know what it means to be human. What is a human? I said, he must think I'm a grapefruit or something, because I didn't know. I had no idea what it was to be normal. Same way with you. I didn't have anything to attach myself to. And then when I discovered the SGI, it wasn't like the SGI was governing me, but I was establishing a stronger sense of self, which was so important. And today with Gen Z, there are so many different labels, and I can't even get them straight, especially with sexuality. It's like, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
Which is great because it gives you the freedom of choosing. However, all of those labels, one sec, because I thought this was really interesting. Where is it? Sorry.
Well, yes, that is something.
So very easy to be so swayed by these different labels that you can't really establish your sense of self. So on one hand, Gen Z is fabulous. They are the future, absolutely. But they're also trying to figure out what is my identity? What should I attach myself to? And please be careful not to attach yourself to something that's really negative, because that can be very appealing. It's like, negativity is a whole lot more appealing than positivity. And in many ways, that's why people love to watch all this violence on TV and stuff.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Peer pressure. Yes.
Yes, that could really get you in a little bit of a tizzy. What your friends are doing.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Sorry, I found it. Yeah. So, the continuous multiplication of labels can sometimes lead to over-identification with trends rather than internal discovery, paradoxically increasing confusion. Because you may want to attach yourself to a particular trend thinking, oh, that's the way, oh, that's the way, oh, that's the way. And then after a while, it becomes like, what's the way? It's so confusing. What is the correct way?
Yeah, so, you're exposed to everything that's beautiful, the movie stars, the culture, and then in the meantime, you're feeling like you don't have what it takes to get that, that's the ideal, but it's not. It's, it's something there, but you have your own particular way of being and showing up in the world, and, you have that right.
There's a concept in Japanese, obaitori, which means peach, cherry, blossom, plum. As you said, each person has a unique mission, right? Each person is unique. And you don't need to be anybody else. You yourself are perfect as you are, even with the pimples and the frizzy hair and the this and the that. It doesn't matter. It's what's inside of you that really counts. And, if you're attached to, there's also a concept, the small ego.
Yes.
If you're attached to your small ego, where you're very, very self-centered and selfish, well, then you'll really never grow. Not really, because your lens of your life is so narrowly focused. However, if you get beyond that into the greater ego, where you can embrace others, get away from yourself, then you really discover yourself through caring for others. That becomes a way you can really establish a strong sense of identity.
When you say that, I was like, I remember when I first started chanting, okay? I didn't want to hear about anybody else's problems. I got my own problems.
Right.
I don't want to have to deal with anybody. I want all the benefit to come to me, because I need it, okay? But then as time went on, I got out of that. And then it wasn't just about me.
Right.
It was about me and others. And so now my life is good.
So when people share, and that's what we do in our discussion meetings, we share each other's struggles. We can encourage each other and then find out nothing is unique. You may think you're sitting there and, oh, my problem's so unique, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't be this, I shouldn't be that. I was a nutso kid. I used to take, I mean, this is really crazy, you know, but I got so frustrated, I would like threaten my family with knives. I mean, that's insane, because now I'm such a peace-loving person. Nobody could even imagine it.
That change.
But I just was so frustrated. I didn't know what to do with that energy, right? So, you know, every aspect of our lives, I mean, we're all human. There's nothing that unique, really. When I was teaching psychology, which was my favorite thing in the world to teach, I asked my students about tattoos. And I think that's an interesting thing as well. And they said, not only does it tell a story, you know, using your body to tell a story, but it's a way to establish an identity. You know, this is me, this is who I am, and it's saying something about my life. So I think it's interesting, the things that we use in our personal lives and in society to establish our identity. But we need to get away from, you know, just being so attached. So what do we do? What are some solutions? What can we do to not be so confused about our lives?
Well, just knowing that it's a natural part of life. It's a necessary part of life. You know, we establish ourselves by going through the challenges. And these challenges in youth also happen at periodic times in your life. You'll go through another identity crisis when you become a parent, when you become a new job. You'll have, you know, losing a partner. What does that mean? Who am I now? You know, you'll always have this thing about identity coming up, and it will last for a certain amount of time, and then it will fade away, and you'll go into a new, you know, way of being. So don't freak out. Just know that this is a natural part of life, and that you will get through it. There's plenty of ways that you can get help: social services, psychology, reading a book.
Right, reading a book.
Yes.
And interacting with people. You know, social media is wonderful. It has many, many benefits. And I think especially young people now are realizing, maybe I don't need to be on my phone 24/7. Maybe I don't need all this validation. So more interaction with human beings, life to life. When we were growing up, we used to play in the streets. Now nobody would even think of doing that. So more life to life connection. And please, you know, especially an hour before you go to bed, turn off the phones, turn off nothing, no games, nothing. You know, you need to like defrag your brain, you know, so you can have a more relaxed sleep, which is so important. And then, you know, it's so easy to be manipulated, especially now with the news, just, you know, bombarding us with such negativity, so easy to be discouraged. So not to be manipulated, you need to become a critical thinker. You need to say, you know, maybe that's not true, or why is this happening? Or maybe they're doing something to try to manipulate me into thinking that I shouldn't have hopes and dreams and determination, or I can't overcome this, or I have to live this particular way. You know, please challenge, become a critical thinker. As you said, read books.
Yes.
Reading books really opens up your mind and your life in so many
That's right.
ways.
I'm telling you, I found my way reading books.
Yep.
Did we cover everything?
I think I'm just seeing, sorry, we have notes, you know, and you have to understand that even at our age, in our early 70s, we are still becoming. We're always becoming. Like Carla started out talking about, a woman is becoming. You're always becoming. I mean, even doing this podcast at our age, right? We're always trying to see, what can we do next? What can we figure out? Who can we encourage, and how can we establish more of a sense of self? It's never ending until the moment you take your last breath. It's never ending. So once again, you have a unique character. Let that shine, and don't stagnate or fear of failure preventing your true character from emerging. The struggle itself is what clarifies who you are. So, you know, it's really important to really be confident about whoever you are. You don't, you know, the more imperfect, the better. The more imperfect, the more you can encourage others. You know, we always joke in, in this, you know, SGI, you were born with all these problems so that you can show, you know.
Actual proof.
Yep.
Of
And then
overcoming them.
We said in the last, because we say life is eternal, so we said in the last life we all raised our hands, no, I want that problem. No, I want that problem. I want that challenge. So please don't shy away from your problems. Use them as an opportunity to develop your life. Please don't look for perfection. That's psycho, and that's no such thing. The more imperfect, the more challenges you have, the more you can encourage
And grow.
others and grow. Absolutely.
Okay, and so now I'm going to use my card because I don't want to miss a thing. All right, so the encouragement is one step can lead to infinite growth. Each of us must seek to discover the particular theme or motive that will characterize our life, maybe what we're good at, okay? An attitude of intense, undaunted seriousness toward each fleeting moment can open up a whole new life for us. And then the most important thing is to not give up on yourself when you are young. Giving into negativity or cynicism, that's a no-no. Don't compare yourself with others, so important. Be true to who you are, okay? And then I just wanted to give a suggestion on a book that you could get. It's called The Way of Youth. And it's a book by Daisaku Ikeda.
Ikeda.
Okay, these are the chapters, okay? There's a chapter on family, friendship, love, learning, work, dreams and goals, confidence, compassion, and the bigger picture.
I love it.
So I think these are all things that we can use and are interesting to young people. Okay? So
And just as a disclaimer, we're not psychologists, we're not this, we're not that. We're just human beings trying to connect to other human beings and share our experiences with you and to encourage you. And the most important is that we have that vital connection, life-to-life connection. That's the secret to everything, our life-to-life connection. So
that's right. So we are
Don't mess with the Mommas, MOMMAS, with our motto. You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny. Please email us, Mommas, MOMMAS .podcast@gmail.com. You can ask Carla or myself, Arlena, what's the name of that book, or if you have any questions at all, or your own comments, or if you don't agree with something we said, or you agree with everything we said. We would just love to have that interaction with you. You can find us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and
Spotify.
She loves Spotify because she loves to write music. Spotify and Apple and Amazon and wherever you view or listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much. Really regard your life as precious. You are a precious jewel, and every day of your life should be regarded as precious. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we're gone.
We're gone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Over
Bye-bye.
and out. Bye.